Hello, good morning. This is News Desk and I am MFA Akosiadeti. Coming up this morning, mixed reactions greet government's 10-day period for BECE candidates to choose their schools. We'll hear from stakeholders. And also on our desk, Salakope and Mutinu stretch, a critical route for commuters and local trade in the Volta region submerged.
The situation we find ourselves in is a very critical situation. The citizens of this area are going through a lot. It is quite unfortunate that there's no level of response, appropriate response, I would say, from government. And
so with us for details on that and as well, fire ravages several residential buildings in densely populated Bomso suburb in Kumasi.
All my clothes, my children's shoes, and all my appliances have been burnt.
We've got these, plus some business updates. Do stay on our desk. Many thanks for staying with us this morning. In our first story, there have been mixed reactions to two things in the educational sector. First, government is adding private senior high schools to the free SHS policy. And also, government has given candidates for this year's basic education certificate examination 10 days to choose their schools. Let's get you the report first, and then we'll speak to stakeholders.
With about 650 private senior high schools in the country, government has stated its plans to roll private schools onto the free SHS program as part of efforts to reduce congestion in senior high schools and also phase out the double-track system. This was made known by the Deputy Education Minister, Dr. Clementa Park, during a news conference at the Education Ministry on the new guidelines for school selection for BECE candidates.
Meetings have been held, engagements have been done, and we are very certain that with the diligence that we expect from our side and the eagerness of the private schools to participate, the private schools would deliver in their participation. We believe very strongly that in fulfilling this manifesto campaign promise, this is going to serve as an artery in helping us bring an end to what we all describe as the obnoxious double-track system.
Meanwhile, the government has reversed to pre-examination school selection, with BECE candidates expected to select 7 schools, 5 out of them being main and 2 as alternative.
As indicated by the Honorable Deputy Minister, Honorable Clement Apak, the 2025 Basic Education Certificate Examination BECE candidates will be undergoing the school selection exercise. This all-important activity is starting today, Tuesday, 27th May, and ends Friday, 6th June 2025. Teams of officers from the Ghana Education Service, Ghana TVET Service, and Free Senior High School Secretariat have been deployed to various regions to begin sensitization of candidates, parents, and guardians.
For candidates interested in TVET are to select 5 TVET institutions from categories A, B, and C using the same procedure as stated earlier as day or boarding. And for STEM, candidates must select STEM sciences in all 5 choices category A, B, and C as day and boarding. Reporting for Joy News, Collins Frimpong.
Well, let's speak to some stakeholders on this particular matter that just came up yesterday. Now, Irene Sam is with the PTA and as well Kwesi Kwate, former PRO, Ministry of Education. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'll start with the parents, of course, because in all of this, it affects them most. Irene, it's a pleasure to have you on today. And so after this direction, especially with the government planning to migrate the private schools onto the free SHS policy, how are parents welcoming this, first of all, before we go into the time that we've been given for basic students to pick their preferred schools? Let's start with the migration. How are parents receiving this?
Thank you very much. Grateful for having me here this morning. Yes, on the PTA front, we really welcome it because all of us know the role that private schools have played over the years in the development of education in Ghana, in achieving learning outcomes in our world. We know that, during the inception of the free senior high school policy, most of our private schools have to fold up because they were not included in the policy. And most of those schools got folded up, even as we speak today. Only a few are able to make impact as we are benefiting now. And we can never, underestimate the role of private education in Ghana. So we as parents, we welcome this idea because all these children are our children, no matter where they are, whether the public or the private sector, they are still Ghanaian children. And whatever that is good for the goose is also good for the gander. Therefore, we must all enjoy benefit and everything in respect to education. So we welcome it so much, and we look forward to working together to make sure that learning outcomes are achieved throughout this policy.
I'll stay with you, Irene, a little bit longer on this, especially because most parents argue that because the public sector is lacking a few things and quality education, as they like to describe it, they think that the private sector provides much more quality education to the private side. And this is why they choose the private side. And so it defeats the whole purpose. Do you have any concern with that?
Yes, absolutely. It is true. We all know that as for private education, when we talk about quality, it is there because the numbers there are not huge. So there is, teacher and student interaction, everything goes on successfully. And they also have the infrastructure in terms of everything that the child needs in school. So undoubtedly, we can never defeat that part because the quality of education has always remained the private schools. And then the public schools are also trying to come up. Even though we have quality teachers in the public schools, looking at the conditions that they have to work under doesn't really bring out the best in them. Therefore, when we talk about the private education, we know that as for quality, it is there. So most of us, for parents all over Ghana, that is where we take our children before they go to senior high school. So it's a good thing that they continue in that regard in the private education for them also to access the free senior high school policy as their public counterparts are also doing.
Stay with me. Let me go to Kwesi Kwarteng, former PR for the Ministry of Education. It's good to have you this morning. First, let's have a bit of, confirm this for me. We've had this notion that it looks as though the private schools seem to be better than the public school. Is this a theory you subscribe to?
It depends on which level of education that we are discussing. If you look at, for instance, at the basic school level, a lot of the parents, particularly those within the middle class category, prefers to take their children to the private schools, obviously for better learning outcomes. And we must also admit that when it comes to one of our weakest links within the education system, it's also at the basic school level, particularly the junior high school level. Okay. So it is undisputed that a lot of premium and value is attached to private training when it comes to the basic education. But I think when you move a bit higher to, for instance, the senior high schools, parents also want to associate themselves with the public senior high schools, the GEHEs, the PRESEC, Lagos. And also when it comes to the senior high school level, one also know that the private schools may also be not in the best of the categories that parents may or even students may want to associate themselves with. So it depends. If you also, when you move to even higher at the tertiary level too, a lot of the alienation is also much tilted towards the public tertiary institutions. So I think the crave for private schools is mostly at the level of the basic schools. because we all know that has not really lived up to the expectation that we all expected it to be.
Okay, and so this migration, at the time that you were at the ministry, or I mean, because you belong to the SWL government, was this something that you had started? Is this something that you welcome, that private schools be migrated onto the free SHS policy?
Well, I think for me, first of all, we will need more details on the policy rationale for this migration even in the first place, because government don't just take any decision based on a vacuum. Obviously, education, as we've always stated, is pivoted on access, quality, and relevance. And at the senior high school level, we came in to improve access with the introduction of the free senior high school policy. I would want to believe that this whole idea of also bringing the private schools on board is also to also increase access. But I think we will need more details. Are they going to recruit more teachers? Which private schools are they using? For instance, if you are looking at schools like Akosomo International, AIS, and they are all private schools. So which private schools are they referring to? I'm sure we need more details. The teachers that they are going to use, are they going to retain the teachers who are already there? And I mean, there are more details that we need before maybe we'll be able to have a very, holistic discussion.
Again, kindly stay with me as I bring in Justice Kinesel, General Secretary, Ghana National Association of Private Schools. I'm certain that you have been calling for this. How has this news come to you? Well received, before we go into the details.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Like you said, this is one of the requests that we made when the parties were preparing for the election. And so we did proposals to the main political parties, and one of our requests was to be included in the free SHS. And so this news actually yesterday brought us a lot of relief, and our members are overjoyed. Okay.
Now, I mean, it's no secret that if you attend a private school in this country, you are likely to pay more than if you were in the public school. Is this to suggest that government is going to be taking care of the entire bills for students who are in the private school, or there's going to be a gap, and who gets to fill that gap? Who pays for that difference?
Okay, and thank you very much. Yes, it is true generally that the notion is that when you attend private school, you pay more. There is some fee structure with education. There's some cost to education. And even the public sector, there's still cost, except that the students are not the one who directly pay the cost. Now, let's look at how the cost build out come up. The teachers we pay, the facility we use, the tools we have to work with. You will agree with me that even now, there are private schools that pay lower than some public school teachers. So when it comes to like tuition, there could be some margin that we made out of that point. So we are looking forward to government giving a kind of a voucher system like we have in the American agricultural schools. And then when the child agrees to go to a private secondary school, is giving that voucher. And then if there's any difference, they could add up. We also know about some of our members who will be able to also work within the budget once it is the fine details have been worked out.
Okay. Again, stay with me. Let me bring in Festus Longmate, Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition. Thank you for joining us this morning. And so, in the scope of education, is this a call you think will help? Should we leave the private schools as they are, or you think that migrating them to a free policy will also help? Kindly unmute if you can hear me. Right. Whilst I get Festus to unmute, let me go back to Irene. I mean, so it looks like it is...
Sorry.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you. Do you believe that the private schools should be left the way they are, or... I mean, the policy is already here with us, but you think that it's okay that we're migrating them onto the free SHS policy?
Yes, so for us as a coalition, migrating the private schools onto the free SHS policy is not a bad idea. All we are interested in is that the policy should promote equitable access to quality education for every child, regardless of whether the child is attending a private school or a public school. Remember, we have a lot of issues regarding the implementation of the free SHS policy, which included or includes lack of infrastructure, adequate infrastructure to accommodate the excess numbers. I remember as a coalition, we tried advising the previous government prior to the implementation of the policy to ensure that they completed with the project embarked on by the previous government, that's the community secondary schools, so that at the end of the day, we are able to we have adequate what's the name infrastructure to be able to accommodate the excess numbers, because we're expecting the number to increase significantly. And that, for instance, was something we learned from the implementation of the capitation grant. We know the capitation grant led to the excess numbers at the basic level, and therefore the same thing we expected was going to happen. So we are all aware of the issue of accommodation, but for us, provided it will provide quality education and then equal access for our children, we support it. But then it shouldn't just be about enrolling them, but it is very important we set certain mechanisms to ensure that private schools that will be benefiting from the policy meet certain standards, quality standards, so that we don't compromise the quality of education as a result of bringing on board private schools. We could set at least their infrastructure, for instance, to meet certain minimum standards. Teacher qualification in this case is very important. We need to ensure that they recruit qualified teachers to handle our children in their classrooms, and the educational outcomes from the educational outcomes for students that are enrolled in the private schools should also be something that is encouraging for all of us to appreciate.
Okay.
Now,
for
sustainability, I think one of the issues that we have had with the implementation of the policy has to do with funding. So it is very important that since the policy is going to be extended to include private schools, there is the need for a detailed analysis of the costs that will be involved as a result of bringing on board private schools, and how government is going to fund
this addition, of course, because the numbers are going to be increased. First, stay with me. Let me go back to the let me go back to the parents. Irene, thank you, First. Stay with me, and let me go back to the parents. Irene, if you can hear me, so we have just 10 days for candidates sitting for the basic education certificate to pick their choice of schools. I mean, hither to that, it wouldn't be so. You would have taken your exams before you'd, be picking the schools. But now it's reversed, and we have only 10 days. What are parents saying about this?
Well, generally, parents have really welcomed the idea. For us, we don't really have a major choice in this. Whatever it is, we know that obviously our walls will go to school, and there'll be a time for selection. Whether it comes before or after, we welcome it. But just that when it is done before the examination is written, it really gives our children some kind of ignition as to urge them on to study hard and also to make their learning areas possible in their various choices that they're going to make. And over the years, to some of the parents who have been complaining that right after exams, they have to relocate to somewhere or whatever, and then they have to call them back to come and select the schools and sensitize parents here, and there has also been a challenge. So if it's done within the examination period or this time that they have just barely a week more to write, I feel that on the parent front, we welcome the idea. But we are all looking forward that our parents will be actively involved in this process, to be really, really interested in the kind of, learning areas that our wards are picking, where they want to venture in and to nurture their interest and their ability levels. That's only that we are looking out for. So we welcome the idea.
Has anything changed, particularly about how you can pick the number of schools in categories? For example, in category A, you can only pick one. In category B, there's a limited number and all of that. Apart from they picking before taking the exams, the nuances that involve, is that okay? Do you have any challenge with that? Before I go to Kwesi Kwati, comparing what was happening prior to today.
Well, there has not been a change. That's that the number of schools have been limited. I think just about last year or a year ago, we were made to just about 13 schools. But this time, it has limited to only 7.
Yes.
So that's the limitation there. But as to category A schools has always been just one option. And category B2 has always been 2 options. And those ones are still there. But just at this time, for category B schools, you either choose one boarding and then one day.
Okay.
And then the category C school, you can also choose both boarding and day as well. So those are the variations that has come along with the selection.
Okay,
the
so
new
parents
one that
are
we
welcoming. Parents generally welcome the idea, you say?
We welcome it, but we are looking forward for the education to that effect that we can fully absorb to it and then make way for it during the selection process.
Okay, okay. Kwesi Kwati, again, thank you for staying with me all through this conversation. In your era, it would be that you take the exams before you'd pick your schools, your choices. This time around, it's been reversed. Do you have any concerns, and why was it the other way around in your era?
Well, if parents say they are happy, who am I to say, I mean, something otherwise? Because
maybe for policy direction. Yes, I mean, of course, we can be happy about lots of things.
Yes, but it won't be. I am of the view that to be able to make a very fair assessment of yourself relative to the school that you choose, the right time should have been when you had written the exams and know how you fared during the exams period, so that you won't just join your friends who are all of them picking pre-sec. Go and pick pre-sec, and after you write the exams, you have a change of mind. So for us, we thought that it was proper for you to write the exams. By then, you would have been able to fairly assess yourself and know your strength, because it's merit-based and it's also competitive. Whatever selection that you make, i.e. the school, certainly will also be compared with other students before you have a placement in that particular school or before you meet your choice. But if now parents are saying government has changed, so they prefer the old system, I mean, fine. But you see, my fear has always to do with that. A lot of times when students select before they go and write, and I mean, after writing, they're able to assess themselves, and some of them have a change of mind. They are unable to make amendments to same. Especially with now that I'm hearing that they've reduced the number of schools. You see, when you increase the number of schools, you give more choices to students, so that at the end of the day, you'll be able to have a lot of the students covered within the automatic placement. But right now that they are reducing schools, I don't know.
What challenge do you envisage? What challenges do you envisage?
Yeah, so I expect that within the automatic placement process, they are going to have a very low percentage of students who are automatically placed, which means that the rest have to be manually placed and go through the protocol system that we all know that is also having its own challenges, issues of monetary payments, parents having to cluster.
Did we not have a lot of challenges with the automatic placement as well, whereas maybe parents complained about my ward and they having to rent a private place because there are no boarding facilities and all of that for the automatic placements?
So maybe we may have to have a full conversation on this. You know, there are 3 types of placement: the automatic placement, the manual placement, and the special placement. So, I mean, whichever way, irrespective of the number of schools that they select, the first placement that comes that we announce for the media and the general public to know is automatically placed. It is only when you are unable to match with any of the choices that.
Oh, sorry if I missed a good question. But let's go to Justice King Asel, who speaks for the private schools. Are you know, usually when you are running a private entity, you seem to have monopoly on the way of operations in your school. Now you're going to be migrated onto the free SHS policy. Are the private schools ready to adjust to what is required to stay under the free SHS policy?
Okay, thank you very much. There have always been some level of monitoring, some control over our activities and operations.
Okay.
If you look at it, the curriculum we use, the way we teach, hitherto at the basic second cycle level, GS has some oversight responsibility. Now we have NASIA that is doing that for public and private. Even at the universities, there's always some kind of oversight responsibility from government. So there are institutions that take care of that. And so this will not be a new thing to us. I also want to say that prior to the SHS, which of course I agree because we wanted to increase access, it was a good thing. There used to be what we call a cutoff point. And even during that period, there were private schools that modeled their business plans along that line. And so those who couldn't go to school, they took care of them, remedial schools. And even to today, those who are SHS and then they are not able to do so well, they go to the remedial schools, which are all private schools. And they're able to redevelop, they use better means of helping the children do better and go back to school. And so I do not see this as a challenge. What we have to do, as we have begun, is to continue to engage to see which will be the best way forward.
Are the private schools as well preparing for the selection of schools?
Ultimately, I still believe that the children will be given the opportunity to be able to make choices.
Okay.
Just like they're doing a selection, they will make choices as to the schools they want to attend, so that it will be as if some kind of compulsion where you are pushing children to some schools which is not of their choice. So
in wrapping this conversation, you know that the free SHS had come under some huge backlash because of the challenges that it faced, from feeding to government, allocating funds for other things that it needed. And the private schools, because you had full control, you were kind of insulated despite the challenges that you also may face. Are you in any way ready to face?
So you are ready. You are ready. Even at private schools, you have students who come to school and the ORES and all that. So some challenges, we are facing the same challenges.
Okay.
I think that at this point in time, the stakeholders will come together and see the way forward.
Okay.
Ultimately, we are excited about this news, and our private SHS will be happy to be part of this new development.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen and lady, for speaking to me this morning. As that exercise of school selection starts today and ends on the 3rd day of June. But away from that, a vital coastal road linking communities in Ghana's Volta region has been crippled once again by the unrelenting force of tidal waves. The Salakope and Amutinu stretch, a critical route for commuters and local trade, now lies partially submerged and broken, leaving hundreds trapped and promoting angry protests from affected youth. Volta regional correspondent Ivy Setoji has more in this report.
It began with a rising tide and ended with a road swallowed by the sea. This is a reality facing residents of Salakope and Amuchinu in the Ketu South municipality. The anger was swift. Youth in these communities staged a spontaneous protest, blocking the damaged road to draw attention to what they call government neglect. The tension nearly boiled over. Commercial drivers pleaded with the youth to open the road and allow passengers through, but for the residents, enough was enough. It took coastal protection expert Ishmael Kwawununu to calm the crowd and mediate, but his message was clear. This is no longer just erosion, it is a crisis, he said.
The situation we find ourselves in is a very critical situation. The citizens of this area are going through a lot. It is quite unfortunate that there's no level of response, appropriate response, I would say, from government and individuals. In any disaster situation, effective communication is the goal. However, it looks like there's some lack of communication and leadership within this community. Now, under normal circumstances, the NADMO or whoever the organization is should have had an emergency management system in place, where there is a communication officer, there's a liaison officer, there's a safety officer. When we got to this area earlier, the citizens of the area, the youth of the area, blocked the road. Now, blocking the road now prevented traffic. If you can see currently, the traffic is now flowing. I had to actually call on the stakeholders in the community and negotiate on behalf of the pedestrians and those who are applying the road to enable traffic to flow. And I don't think this is the appropriate situation, because if you do not communicate effectively to people who are in crisis, it makes the situation even worse. So I would think that, on behalf of the youth of this community, government should bring in the right individuals, the appropriate individuals, and set up an emergency management center to deal with the situation appropriately, so that the youth are in a position to communicate with the right and appropriate individuals, so that the situation does not escalate. Because I can tell you without any reasonable doubt that this communication is, without the communication, the situation is going to escalate.
Well, this is a recurring situation. Let's engage Ketu South MC, Nicholas Kwabla-Wolachi. Thank you for joining us this morning. Would you give us the update as to what's looking like today?
Hello?
Hi, good morning.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. What's the situation like for your people today?
Yes, as you are aware, the Tidal discussion is on. It's been sporadic, and we've come to meet it again. But as you are aware, when NDC was in power, there was a serious and massive sea defense project from Kita to Blekusu. And ever since NDC lost power, for the past 8 years, not even a single stone was put there as a grind. So we have not come back to power, and we met with a similar situation. I can tell you for a fact that yes, apparently the situation is getting out of hand, and that the sea has not covered the road, is crossing the road or has crossed the road, and has entered the lagoon part of Salakofa, Garveji, and Mutinu. I was in the sea water myself to experience it. And I can tell you that, yes, the situation is getting out of hand.
Okay.
But that notwithstanding, we are keeping faith in the NDC government. We are keeping faith in the leadership of the current government. We are keeping faith with His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who visited the place 2 months ago when the first strike of the Tidal wave occurred.
So if I understand, we sleep and wake up hoping that there won't be such a situation while we keep faith in the government. I mean, you have just mentioned that at the time that NDC was in power, you started some sea defense project. And of course, it stalled because then the NPP took power, and now you're back in power. But prior to today, it's been 4 months since the president came to give us some promises at the time that it started this year. Have we made any progress in the conversation to curb this situation? Have we, in any way?
Yes. A minimum budget of 200 million has been slotted into the first budget. And that was the time His Excellency John Dramani Mahama visited the place at Gabeji. And yes, plans are underway. You know, these projects, sea defense projects, is indeed capital-intensive one. So you don't have to rush and invest money into areas that will turn out to be unprofitable without producing value for money. So I know, even though if visibility studies were done in the past, the way the sea is devastating now calls for another visibility studies to know the kind of solutions that will be a lasting one that will be prophetic for this. Some people, experts, are talking about dredging. Some are still talking about using the groins, the hard rock, to do the sea defense. So these things are on the table and being considered at different levels. But that notwithstanding, we cannot be waiting for that major project to be rolled out. We need to now be responding swiftly to the plight of the people, which His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is doing, which the Member of Parliament, Honorable Ablaj Vagomashin, is doing, which the Regional Minister, Honorable James Goun, is doing. Quickly, what we did last 2 weeks was that we quickly ordered a tent to be provided. A 40 tent has been provided, has been ordered by the Regional Minister, and I've been tasked with the responsibility of having a separate place field for the people to move in. I can tell you that yes, it's true. As the water has ravaged the homes of the people, their belongings are now submerged into water, and then they have to be moved from that place to a safer place. That's what we are doing now.
So currently, as we speak, the displaced persons are being taken care of. Is this what you mean? You're relocating them to a safer place.
The relief items were provided last week.
Okay.
And it's still being provided. And we are saying that we are now creating an access road from a point to another safer place where the place will be filled for them. And this is what we are doing now. Struggling for resources to do that now. And this is what we are doing now.
How much damage? How much damage are we talking about? How much damage is caused so far?
Oh, a good portion of Gaveji has been affected. Part of Salakova has been affected. I can say 5 houses have been affected, and one house to be inhabited by 10 or let's say from 6 to 10 people, because we encourage neighbors to be neighbors keepers. So some people whose houses were previously destroyed are putting up with their colleagues and their friends in other parts. So these houses are also now submerged into the water. So in one house we could have inhabitants of 10 to 15.
Okay. Are residents going to be allowed to stay in this temporal location until you have a near permanent solution, or you have...
Yes, that's how it is. The question is obvious. The answer to the question is obvious. That question, pick it again. Are they going to be allowed to live stay in a permanent, in a temporary location? Yes.
No, I'm asking, are they going to be there until we have a permanent solution? I'm asking.
Yes, that question is not there again, because they must be somewhere until a permanent solution is provided.
I mean, I asked this because it's not the first time. When it happened, we understood that they were giving temporal location. And now it's happened again, which means that they might have moved to this area again, and then they are affected. And so I'm only asking whether you're going to ensure that they live in the temporal position. Otherwise, they're not just going to observe that a wave has gone down and then they go back to where they were living. So we're not reporting the same story. Yeah?
No, you see, there is a characteristics pertaining to that. You see, our people who are affected are fisher folks. And it is absolutely psychologically problematic for them to leave the coastal area or the coastal line into the hinterlands because of their fishing gears and what they are used to psychologically, and culturally and socially. So the place we are providing for them now is a place where it's not a bit far away from the coastal area, where they can have a place to lay down their eggs and a belonging set.
Okay.
That's what we are doing. Okay. I can tell you for a fact that a large regime provided some areas, and a lot of cash has been invested into that. But when you go to the place now, and you are told that a huge quantity of cash has been stuck into that project. If you see the project, houses that were built for people to live in as a temporary resettlement area, those structures are nothing to have hope about. It tells you that magic happened in the past.
Okay.
Magic, sarcastic magic happened in the past. The houses for reallocation are now dilapidating. They've been eaten into by the salt, and they are even collapsing. So it means these houses must even be demolished and rebuilt. And you can see that cash has been wasted.
All right.
That investment has been wasted. So we are now trying to re-engineer the whole system, provide a temporary place for our people, and as we wait for another temporary solutions, and then we tackle the sea defense project as a major project.
Okay. All right. Thank you for talking to us. I'll now engage Joel Dig. He is environmental expert, tourism promoter, Keta. Thank you for joining us this morning. I mean, for an environmental expert and a tourism promoter, I really wonder what you will be promoting in an area that is quite volatile like this, especially to waves. Tell me the situation from your perspective.
I'm grateful for the opportunity. And as the MCE of Ketu South just said it, that is the situation on the ground. It's not a palatable one, because over 100 houses in those 3 adjoining communities have been destroyed, and about 600 people have been rendered homeless. And as we speak now, there's no single house at Gaveji end and Salakopa, which is between the road and the shoreline. As have been reported, the waves have now had their free way to move over the land onto the road and into the lagoon, which is on the beyond the community. Yeah, so truly speaking, there's no single house at some portions of Salakope remaining there. And according to some of the old folks I spoke to, while they were growing up in those communities, they could see not less than 400 meters of land before the shoreline. So if we go by basic conservative figures, even if it is 200 meters, that is about 2 sizes of a standard football pitch that has gone into the sea. So we have lost heritage, we have lost ancestral land, we have lost homes, we have lost cemeteries, and we lost even forest grove. The super forest grove between Salakope and Agaveji is also gone. Yeah, so the situation is not a very good one.
Do you think that our people
as the road is now,
right? Please proceed.
As the road is now, the road is no longer pliable.
Do you think that our people who live on that stretch understand the situation very much? You know, because when it happens, as the MC is saying, that we usually will provide temporary accommodation or provide some supplies for them as well. But not long after, because of the nature of their work, he has mentioned psychologically, economically, they are likely to move back again. And then when there's a wave, we report the same issue. Do you think that enough engagement and education is being given to our people who live in this area and that stretch to understand the real consequences of this?
No. My answer would be a direct no.
Okay.
As the earlier intervener said, you know, crises are managed when a certain system of communication is put in place. That everybody knows exactly what is going on and what each one is expected to do at a particular time. I want to be frank here. Those provisionary shelters they provided earlier, I don't even know whether people settled in them because the place wasn't completed. The place was being worn away by the sandy nature of the place. Actually, when the president was there, we all visited the place and saw the nature of that structure. It's not anything that could accommodate 10 families. Yeah, so what needs to be done now is to call on humanitarian organizations. If government is not in position to do it, you should call on UNHCR, call on World Food Program, call on some other, you know, big international organizations. They could bring in tents to set camp around. I have already identified a place before the police station. That's going to be a Dafinu area. They cleared those areas with the small bush there, set up. It's still around the coast.
Okay.
They could have access to the coast and do whatever they want to do there.
Okay. Okay, so, well, the MC is assuring us of a 200 million allocation for at least a sea defense, but thinks that there has to be more engagement. But thank you for bringing us a situation as it is, Joel. Thank you so much. You're watching Joy News Desk. Please stay with me for some business update.
Hi, welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. The Institute of Directors Ghana is marking its anniversary with a donation to the Jolu Special School as it promotes ethical governance, inclusivity, and corporate social responsibility. Speaking to Joy Business, President of the Institute, Reverend Angela Carmen Appiah, said this is not a one-time act, but part of a long-standing relationship with the school and a demonstration of leadership.
Institute of Directors Ghana is marking its anniversary with more than just words by giving back to the community. As part of the celebration, the Institute donated to the Jolu Special School in Accra. Speaking to Joy Business, President of IOD Ghana, Reverend Angela Carmen Appiah, reaffirmed the Institute's commitment to ethical leadership and corporate social responsibility.
As we push performance indicators in our various institutions, as we champion ethical leadership, we must also be walking the talk of good corporate governance and ethical leadership. And one way of doing that is to celebrate our differences, push for inclusivity, be mindful of our stewardship, and also look towards the less privileged in our society, contribute our quota by way of corporate social responsibility, and be mindful of the people and the planet.
According to the headmaster of the Jolu Special School, Frederick Tete, beyond donations, the school is empowering students with lifelong skills. Through bead making and craft work, they are being prepared for life beyond the classroom.
Yeah, the students who are here, most of them see reading and writing as a difficult task, and we are preparing them for future. This place is not a home for them, and definitely they will live here one day. So we thought it wise, management thought it wise to come out with something that will help them to acquire a form of a skill. That is why we introduced bead making and this doormat. They're able to use bead to do a lot of things, key holders, bracelets, necklaces, and what have you. So once they've mastered their skill, I think they can do that when they graduate from new school to when they're living. It's on that score that we exhibited some of the items for the public to see, so that they will know that disability is not inability.
As IOD Ghana celebrates its milestone, it is also helping to shape a future of inclusion where leadership is measured not just by policies, but by the empowerment of young minds.
Now, German ambassador to Ghana, Daniel Koro, has highlighted the importance of enhancing agribusiness activities in Ghana to create economic opportunities and boost exports. He made the remark at a press briefing aimed at deepening cultural ties and fostering trade relations between Ghana and Germany.
The initiative, which was announced at a press briefing, brought together two distinguished chefs, Otto Pfeiffer from northern Germany and Esther Mumuni from Tamale in northern Ghana, to explore and blend the rich culinary traditions of their respective regions. German ambassador to Ghana, Daniel Koro, emphasized that food offers a powerful medium for cultural exchange, going beyond traditional development partnerships.
There's one thing that is very close to the hearts of the Ghanaians, and that's food. So I thought, how can we try to build a relationship between my country and Ghana in the food sector? An amazing, innovative chef, his name is Otto Pfeiffer. I reached out to him and said, Otto, why don't you come to Ghana? And we tried to find ways of how we could maybe combine northern German and northern Ghanaian kitchen. That I link you up with someone who I know, who is very innovative as well, and that is Esther Mumuni, and she very skillfully upgraded traditional recipes here in Ghana, and so I said, why don't you join forces and try to explore what new ideas can be introduced into northern German and northern Ghanaian kitchen.
He further highlighted the importance of enhancing agribusiness activities in Ghana to create economic opportunities and boost exports.
The challenge at this point is that Ghana struggles to being able to provide the necessary quantities. So I reached out to one accounts advisor to the big companies who buy large quantities, and he said, well, how many containers can you deliver per week? And they said, what container per week? No, we cannot. We have small quantities. But that's then is not very exciting for buyers. So that is something Ghana has to work on, how this working together in the agribusiness can be improved. One producer alone will not be able to meet this volume target. There's a strong need for working together and joining forces, including with state institutions who have to accompany the farmers in what I just mentioned earlier on the preferences of the customers and how you can tailor your product to the needs of the market.
The initiative is expected to showcase the flavors of both countries while deepening diplomacy.
And that's it. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Back to you, MFA.
Thank you so much. You're just still staying with us. That'll be all for News Desk. I am MFA Akosia Adeti. For more news, though, do log on to myjoyonline.com. And I'll see you at 12 for Joy News Today.